Every wise man knows that Mexican women are famous for two things: their beauty and their susceptibility to charm. Watch this. Good evening. Let me guess. You drink tequila. Barman, 2 glasses of Talisman. I'm about to wow you with a tequila experience that's going to take you back to your roots. When the Talisman does tequila, we don't need salt, we don't need lemons. No fancy gimmicks. What you're about to taste is just the finest agave distilled to perfection. You know, just like your granddad used to make back in old Mexico.
But babe, I'm German.
Whatever.
I'm a feminist, as you all know, and I really respect the opinions of women. And that's why I'm here in this woman's only gym to ask them what they think about my brand new product, Fireblood. People often come up to me and say, Andrew, you're so tall and strong and smart and funny and charismatic and extremely rich. What supplements do you take? And I explain that coffee and cigars are the only supplements I've ever needed, but perhaps as I get old, I should look into them. So I decided to do a little bit of market research, and I was very disappointed by what I saw. All of these supplements are full of chemicals I can't name, I don't know what they are, or they're full of flavorings. I thought, why can't you have a product which is only the things your body needs? Why can't you only have vitamins and minerals and amino acids? And if you're gonna do that, why not have loads of them? I've never understood, girls, if you don't mind, I've never understood why you would have 100% of your vitamin B2 when you can have 7,692% of your vitamin B2. Along with your vitamin B6 and your iodine, magnesium,
Afternoon, everybody, or wherever you are in the world. Hope you're having a great day.
Niacin, folic acid, vitamin A, it goes on and on. In one convenient scoop with absolutely no flavorings whatsoever. Surely, Andrew, you're a business genius. What? Who hasn't thought of taking all the minerals and all the vitamins and all the amino acids and putting them in a fantastic, easy-to-use product with no flavorings whatsoever? So I've created it, Fireblood, and we're here to see what women think of it at this Girls Only Gym. So girls, this is Fireblood, this is my product. Please give us a very honest review. Girls love it. They love it. Don't listen to what girls say, they don't mean it. They love it. And that's the best thing about Fireblood, because you know what? Life is pain. Everything good in life is going to be pain. When you go to the gym, you're supposed to suffer. Every single good thing that's going to come to you in life is going to come through pain. Your supplement, what is good for your body, is never going to taste like cookie crumble. It's never going to taste like strawberry cotton candy. And if that's what you want, you are probably gay. If you are a man and you want to be as strong as humanly possible with no garbage, only the things your body needs, then you need to get used to pain and you need to get used to suffering. And only that way will you ever become a fraction of my power and manage to achieve Fireblood. Fireblood tastes disgusting because it is good for you, and like everything beneficial in life, it is hard to swallow. Fireblood is the most disgusting product you can buy, but contains every vitamin, mineral, and amino acid required for muscle growth. Your stomach may ache a little bit after consuming Fireblood if you are a dork. If you prefer supplements which taste of cookie crumble but are full of junk, you should probably get an AIDS test because you are gay.
It's not good at all, it's very disgusting. I really feel to throw up when I'm drinking.
Do you want a supplement that makes you strong, or do you want a supplement that tastes like candy because you're fucking gay?
We had an audio glitch. It's all good. Let me remove this real fast. We have a Rumble chat from Sitting Ducks for 10 says, I got me a rusty anchor. Now, where's that Lincoln at? Yeah, him and Lindsey Graham could swallow those whole. I would prefer that you use Entropy. I'm going to put the link in the Rumble because I can no longer receive money from Rumble. It goes there, but it doesn't really matter because they only pay you through PayPal now, which is utterly useless because PayPal will ban me. I cannot just use someone else's PayPal either. They ban anything from my Rumble going to PayPal gets banned. So that's that fun. Anyway, here is Sean Attwood. We're talking Epstein, Trump, Maxwell. I'll be in here and I will answer your comments.
Good afternoon, everybody, or wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a great day. We have got on our most requested guest in recent months. Inundated. Where is Ryan? Where all this is going on with Epstein, Trump, Maxwell. Where is Ryan? Well, Ryan is here.
The sad thing is, most requested guest means there's some pedophile somewhere. It's awful.
Many of you know that Ryan had a problem with his eyes, and I'll let him if he wants to talk about that. But he's back now. He's
generation. Some people get it. So some. I don't have the shades on this show, but in the process to cure that, they put a fluorescence in your eyes so it can light them up so they can do the surgery, and you get a big needle in your eyes. Lots of fun. But even after the surgery, that stuff is still in both eyes. And so lights like screens and things just look like really, really bright. So I was rocking the shades on a lot of shows. I wasn't being rude. Wasn't any more extra rude. Just my regular rude. I just had to have the shades for that. And so this is like the third interview I've done without him in months. So
well, we appreciate you coming on, man. It must have been very scary for you. I watched you on Judge Napolitano, and you know, how did we get here, Ryan? Whereby you've got Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Trump. They're all saying after campaigning that they were going to release these files, that there's nothing there. Move on. We are cretins for even asking about it. It's an old stale case. What are you guys thinking?
He's calling his own base fools and things. And I will say on record, I told you, I said it on the Fresh and Fit or whatever thing it was with Myron, and every show I could get on, you're not going to get any file. It's not happening. Pam Bondi's like, what desk? Who's Epstein? They didn't give you JFK. They just gave you redundant stuff on MLK, which no one cared about anyway, because nobody believed that story. And they didn't really give you anything on Robert Kennedy, and you're not going to get anything on 9/11 or Epstein. But if there's enough public pressure, we have a very interesting turn of events. August 11th, Maxwell will be there, and she's going to talk. Now, she cannot say less than she's already not said, because she said nothing because they never offered her a deal. Why would she give up any names if it's not part of a plea bargain? That's why people said, "Ooh, how come they didn't kill her?" You don't need to if she's not a threat. If she's not offered a deal, then there's... Anyway, I explained this to Sean again, I think. So I'll just shut up and let myself talk. Yeah, Kash Patel's got quite the younger girlfriend, and they're kind of parsing words, because what they'll say is they will say there's a file. They won't say there's a list. And I agree with them. They didn't make a list. There is a way to make a list, which I have done. But if you think that Epstein was some like 1960s Batman villain that just wrote down all the bad guys in a book and put it in a safe somewhere, you're out of your mind. Like, they're not going to write down who all the Johns are. He knows who they are, and who, but he's not going to put it in a list. That's something the FBI is supposed to compile. And I don't think they even bothered with it because so many co-conspirators had immunity from the first trial that it was like pointless. They could just get Epstein. They got Burnell. They got Maxwell because she fell outside the date window or whatever of immunity. And they know who else it is, but they can't do anything legally. I'm like, yeah, but you could tell the public who they are. So their products and things could be boycotted. Like, that's something they should be doing, but it's a lot of Trump's own donors. So, like, how can he release some and not others? He kind of incriminates himself if he does it. But if he doesn't do it, his whole presidency is falling apart. Like, MAGA has abandoned him over this. He's like, you guys, but you notice they didn't even bother asking Biden for this. They're like, oh, he's not. They all know he's a crook, With Trump, they expected more, and I don't think they should have, even though the bar is really low. Trump was Epstein's like best friend for about 6 years, and they had a falling out. But a lot of the same donor class that were associates of Epstein also give to Donald Trump and are very close to Netanyahu, who owns Trump. So you can't expect much there, but he's really positioned himself between a rock and a hard place because they're never going to let this go. There's only one thing that would bump Epstein out of the news cycle, and that's another war with Iran. So guess what's coming? They're not going to release Epstein.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you on that. So Maxwell, possible August 11th date for talking to Congress, and speculation that Trump may give her a pardon. It seems that she tried to appeal under the sweetheart deal, the exemption for the co-conspirators, but got that shut down. And now it does actually look like she might get Bill Cosby'd out. What do you think is going to happen with Maxwell?
Well, the thing is, Epstein himself was not privy to the sweetheart deal. That's why he did get his, he still sort of had a deal, but he did go to prison, at least on Sundays. And since she was trafficking to him, then I think they can argue, oh, he's not part of the deal. You traffic to him, and you continue to do so long after he was out of jail. So she'll try and make that argument. There's just so much public sentiment against it. If he pardons Maxwell without her throwing like 100 names under the bus or something in a plea bargain, he's just President Child Banger. Like, he'll never get anything done. They will riot over that. Like, if you pardon Maxwell, that's it. Like, forget it. Trump Towers is going to be on fire. Like, there's just no way the public's going to put up with that. If he pardons her because she just throws everyone under the bus, it might be worth it because you get so much bigger fish. But, it's the same thing. People always ask, how come they didn't just kill her? There are two main reasons. One, that would have been very hard to pull off after the very obvious, blatant murder of Epstein if they did it again. But they had a much easier way of resolving the problem. Don't offer her a deal. If you don't offer her a deal, she's not a threat. She's only a threat if she can plea bargain up by offering up names. They never gave her a deal. She didn't even testify. Now she wants to do the appeal. If that doesn't work, she's kind of threatening, I'm going to give out names. It seems like she kind of has or somebody did. Because when Trump got frustrated, he was out there. It's right before he was going to helicopter or fly somewhere, it looked like. And he's like, why don't you go ask Larry Summers? Why don't you ask Bill Clinton? Why don't you go after some of these hedge fund managers? I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's some interesting people you just picked, because that's right on the top of the list there is hedge fund managers and Larry Summers at the very top of my list. And so is Bill Clinton. I think Clinton's a name everybody knew anyway, but Larry Summers is just sort of a name known by researchers. And Trump said it. I mean, that's the president of the United States saying, why don't you go ask him? So why is he saying that? And I printed out the first page right here. Is that upside down? No, it's backward to me. But there's Summers right there.
It's one of the first names. So some of the people on this list are being outed. It's just, I've been waiting years and years for these names to come out. So president saying that's a big deal. Hedge fund managers, he's got to be talking about Dubin. The majority of Epstein's money came from 4 people. Number 1 was Wexner. Number 2 was Leon Black. And then a very distant 3 and 4 was Glenn Dubin and Elizabeth Johnson from Johnson & Johnson. And there's about 105 million from mystery. And most of those are offshore. So we all know who, but yeah, legally anyway, in the books, he really just had a couple clients. He had Wexner for a while, and then he had Leon Black. And that's all you need. When you have a billionaire, you really don't need to twist anyone else's arm. Like you're good. You got a billionaire, you're done. You don't need to go get another one and another one and another one.
All right, so thank you for the super chat, beloved. Thanks for having Ryan on the show. The pleasure's all mine. So we saw the release of this letter, supposedly from Trump to Giuffre for his 50th birthday with a bawdy doodle. And there was a theory that Maxwell could have been behind that, making a shot across the bow to Trump to get him to do, arrange these sit-downs. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd heard about the leather binder before, where his signature is the pubic hair. So when the Wall Street Journal came out with that, I thought it was very suspect because that book is full of names of all kinds of prominent people, and they only reported on one. It is impossible to have that and to know about, Trump's alleged birthday message and picture of a nude girl or whatever, and not know the other names. So this is completely motivated by politics, not by justice. They didn't give you any other names in that book, and they have to have them. You cannot see one page without seeing the others. So I had heard about it. I don't think it's forged or anything. He did do it, whatever. He's guilty. He's going to say, nah, of course he's going to say that. But I'd heard that before, but you should see all the other names in that book. This isn't like a birthday card. It was a leather bound, it's a book about that big, and it's got thank you notes and things from all kinds of people. It's really damning because it's like, what are you doing for his 50th birthday? And it's all perverted stuff because they all knew what he did and they all knew what he was about. That's why you see these lewd messages and pictures of naked women and things.
What did you make of the reference to Enigma?
I don't know. It's cryptic stuff. You can take that many ways. I don't try to speculate on symbolism too much. I just do the concrete things. It's some inside thing for sure, but guessing at it isn't going to help until I have good intel on that, and then I can say what it is, but I'm not going to guess at it.
So Ryan, so many people had high hopes for Trump ending wars, releasing Epstein files, and now now we're seeing that the opposite has happened. Is the opposite happened because he had good intentions and the deep state override everything, or was he compromised from the beginning, or are they all just compromised? They're all just puppets, and there's an invisible hand controlling all of these.
I'm going to answer that in a second, but over on Entropy, we have Leftist Groiper, which sounds like an oxymoron, sends in 401, says, thanks for all the great work. Kjo with a Benjamin. Boom, here. You should get a counter. Says, thank you, Ryan, for all the things you've done to expose the nasty degenerates of the world. Please use this to enjoy time with your family. That from Kjo. Thank you, man or woman. We've got a calendar here. I'll update this. How do you make it bigger? There you go. And the quote is backwards. You can buy this, by the way, in the store. We have this set. It says, man is an individual only because of his intangible memory, but memory cannot be defined yet it defines mankind. That's from the Puppet Master and Ghosts in the Shell. Yesterday was Hulk Hogan Day in Florida. DeSantis finally did something base on the most base Floridian ever, the Hulkster. They put the flags at half mast after he passed away and had Hulk Hogan Day. So you can drink some Hulk Hogan Freedom beer on Hulk Hogan Day. You can drink it any day, I suppose. We're coming up. Let's see. What are we on the 3rd? Yeah. We sell these calendars every year. It gets your base thing. Kyle Rittenhouse birthday was here. John McCain's Still Dead Day coming up. The real anniversary on the 25th of this month. And of course, on the 10th was the day Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. And the next day, they may have Ghislaine Maxwell talking to Congress. So a lot of big events in August. We got the worst nuisance streamer ever, who liked to yell Hiroshima, Nagasaki to middle school students on a train in Japan and messed around in Korea. His trial is on the 13th, which will be the 12th for a lot of you, but it'll be the 13th. He has a new charge. I'm going to do an update on that. It's not related to Epstein or anything, but I will be going to the trial. Legal Mindset will be going to the trial or hearing, excuse me, with our, what's he call it? the anti-Somali crew, the ones that have been digging up and filing things against him. Our crew will all be there from all over South Korea, mostly in Seoul. If you're in that area, I've got the anti-Somali t-shirts with him in prison holding cabbage in a prison uniform, so we can trigger him again because it's so easy. Hanky Poo will be next. That is the update there. And then I will be going to the United States. So I'll be in the Carolina area. I believe Jeff Norman from some Scott Ritter's podcast, we're going to meet up and maybe do something, and we'll see who else is around. We have the Redux of Empire Unmasked. I'll be screening that privately for some. So if you're in the Outer Banks area, let me know. Let's get back to Sean Attwood. He just asked a question, so I laid the floor. Thanks over there on Entropy. You can watch this whole thing on Entropy. The link is in Rumble. It's nothing against Rumble, but the Shekel chats are frozen. I've tried to contact them to ask, is there any way around the PayPal problem? And they just don't answer. So I don't know what to do there. It's always something. We're at 104. So if somebody wants to give me Dead Lincoln to get to 109, that would be much appreciated. Please do it on Entropy rather than Rumble if you can. And there we go.
Actors regurgitating all these lies to the public.
Yeah, it's, he didn't start any new wars, he claimed, like the Biden regime started Ukraine, and he could end that, but he can't. Like, he won't do what you'd have to do that. And he'd alienate his European allies because they're all hell-bent. They're sending troops there to Ukraine. And he did start a new war and then ended it with Yemen. But it wasn't because he became a peacenik. It was because it wasn't going well. The U.S. Navy isn't designed to hit the Mosquito fleet, if you know what I mean. Like, they can take out other large ships and things, but a way to beat, not a carrier, but some of these attack ships is just to have a lot of small ships. So you can completely overkill on a few of them, and then you're out of torpedoes, and they're still there to harass you and take out merchant marine ships and things like that. So he ended it with the Houthi, and he did so without conditions. Like, they still hit Ben Gurion Airport the day after he had a truce with them. He did bomb Iran. That isn't definitely an act of war. Even though he said, I'm coming, whatever, you can't just violate someone's airspace and drop bombs in their facilities. But he did, because Israel was losing the war. So they called Dad, and he went in there and bombed it and then said, knock it off. So a day later, that was over. But they had planned that the whole time. They had their little trick play. Mossad was in there. They disabled air defense systems. They had drones within the country attacking targets, tried to take air supremacy. They could not get all the ballistic missiles, though, and the defense systems, even though it went over Iraq and Jordan and Israel, it still got through and still hit. And they did whatever Israel did. If Israel hit a hospital, they hit a hospital. If Israel hit residents, they hit residents. Tit for tat. And boy, the Israelis are not used to that. They're used to hitting basically completely harmless targets in Gaza and the West Bank that don't have any air defense systems, don't have an air force, don't have a navy, don't have anything. They're starving to death, and they just blow them up where they sleep. If they run to a refugee camp, they set that on fire too. Iran get hit back, and they were not used to that at all. So they ran to Daddy Trump and said, make it stop. And he did. He gave them an off-ramp. He's like, all right, we took out their nuclear facility, which was never really the real reason for the war, but that was the like given public pretext. So he said, okay, that threat's removed so we can end this, right? Knock it off. But Israel's already rearming. The reservists come back in September, and they'll be ready for round 2. And they are arrogant enough to do it. And I wish I could say otherwise. I wish there wouldn't be a war, but on one side, and the other side's like, yeah, do it. Because the only way I see this ending is Israel loses a war. They don't have any rationale. They don't have any empathy. They don't care about anybody. Physically losing a fight's the only way things are going to change. So,
but how
sadly,
could they lose?
How
could they lose if they got the full backing of America's military might?
Well, they're not going to get invaded like the U.S. invaded Iraq. But the way they lose is people, almost everyone in Israel is from somewhere else, and they don't feel safe there. And when their homes and things and their ports are getting tagged, yeah, you can't even cripple them economically because America will just give them endless billions of dollars. So even if nothing works, they're such a parasite. They'll live off America forever. But they can't keep the diaspora in Israel. They can cancel flights and stuff temporarily, but the moment they can get out, they are. Like Cyprus is now an Israeli colony. So many Israelis went to Cyprus, to Greece, to Thailand, or they went home. And by home, that means Europe, the United States, and Canada, because that's where most Israelis are from. And they'll empty that place. And they also, they've run out of interceptors, and they don't have the means to produce them. This isn't the missiles themselves. They're getting low on that. I'm talking about the intercepting hardware itself, the Patriot systems, Aegis offshore. THAAD is useless. It's too expensive. But David Sling, Arrow 2 and 3, those systems, like Iran hit anti-ballistic missile defense systems with ballistic missiles. And you can't just build those in a day. And then the missiles themselves are low because they would panic and they'd fire like 20 at one. Maybe they got it, maybe they didn't, but they just wasted overkill on defense because they think they're endless. And the hilarious thing, and a twisted sense of humor, is a lot of that air defense system ended up in Ukraine, and they've used them up there too. And once you run out, they can basically hit you at will because Iran is not running out of offensive weapons. They've got plenty of ballistic missiles, drones. They took out oil fields in Iraq earlier this month. There's going to be conflict with Azerbaijan. Things are heating up everywhere. Even Cambodia discovered rare earth metals, and suddenly Thailand is attacking them with fighter jets. Now they leave the rare earth metals out and say it's about territory around this temple. It isn't. It's rare earth metals for sure.
So are you saying that the ceasefire with Iran, Israel is just a reload for Israel?
They've never held a ceasefire in the existence of that nation. So they will break it.
Do you have an estimate on when it could be broken? Is it months away or?
Well, the pressure, the thing is, Trump is being pressured by Epstein, and Netanyahu is being pressured by his court case. But the reservists rotate in September, but that doesn't mean it couldn't come before September. It's just more likely they would wait for the troop rotation and for the ability to reload all the interceptor weapons they do have. They want to be at full capacity before they start a new one. Thing is, they don't have the first strike capacity that they did before. Plus, Iran has gotten some of these AWACS jets from China, or the radar added to jets they already have. That is battle proven in the short India-Pakistan war. It showed it works. So they're not going to be able to get air supremacy so easily. They won't have the on the ground Mossad moles That card's been played. They've burned through their cards. They don't have another trick play. All they have is their backup is send America. But Trump's kind of burned the whole, oh, they're about to get a nuclear weapon thing because he said he obliterated it. So what's the excuse going to be? They really don't have anything left that could get the American public to support a war in Iran other than a false flag. But that's also not out of their range. It's just, who's going to believe it?
Or they could say that even though they did put those holes in the desert, claiming it was the greatest military campaign since Julius Caesar, they could say that the knowledge, Iran still has the knowledge, so we have to change the regime to change the knowledge.
Or the missing uranium. Yeah, it's on mobile trucks, just like Iraq.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, sure. Look, we have a cartoon of it. We'll bring it to the UN like Colin Powell did.
Thank you for all the super chat questions that have come in. I will be presenting them to Ryan, and we've got Cryptic Chronicles. Can you ask how an ex-Australian Prime Minister, Paul Keating's daughter, is connected to Epstein? Catherine Keating was videoed leaving Epstein's New York City apartment with Prince Andrew seen inside. I remember that video.
Yeah, I mean, he targeted men and women for sure. One thing Epstein would do, and I don't know if this is in her particular case, but is a way he could get someone on his payroll would be like what he did in the Virgin Islands with Cecile DeYoung. He would pay the first lady. He paid her $200,000 salary a year. Now, he didn't pay the governor. He paid his wife. And so you could pay someone's kid or pay some relative of theirs. And then, oh, I didn't give this politician any money. I didn't give this person any shares in this and that or some, form of payment. It was, but, it clearly is when you pay someone's wife or kid, it's a payment to them. Now, if you just because you're in the New York apartment with Andrew, Prince Andrew has a foot fetish, so he would go a lot for that. And I want to make it clear to people who think, well, Epstein had all cameras in every room, and so he would have them blackmailed because they'd be banging kids in the third bedroom or whatever. That he did have cameras everywhere because he's a pervert, but that's not how he was blackmailing them. If you think it through, I've said this on your show before, but you cannot use blackmail that's filmed on your own property. If you have a video of Prince Andrew and some chick in your bedroom in New York, the first thing the police are going to ask is, where did this take place? Why are they in your house? Why do you even know these girls at all? You've incriminated yourself if you use a tape that's done on your property. If you go through Mickey Cohen's rules of blackmail, and he was an old school blackmailer, number one is not on your own property. You always go neutral territory, hotels, things like that, which is what they did if you listen to the victims. Epstein and Maxwell would R-word people on the property, but when the perverts came over, they would go to other areas. And number two is never film yourself with the honeys in the honey trap. Never take pictures with the girls, never film them. They broke all three rules when they took a Polaroid of Prince Andrew and Maxwell in Maxwell's house with Virginia Roberts or Virginia Giuffre. Now she's photoed with Maxwell and Andrew, and it's in Maxwell's house, and she's an underage American girl. That was such a screw up. That one Polaroid cost Andrew $16 million. But there are people that would be invited that would possibly had no idea what goes on. They're trying to bait them. Sometimes he'd have dinners there and things with people. Not all of them knew what a pervert he was. Andrew certainly did because he participated in it. But we don't know about with Keating for sure. But I think there's a high probability given all the decor and stuff in this house that you'd have to be not want to know, at least in New York. So a lot of them just look the other way. I mean, you think about it. They had an airline, well, not an airline, but a plane called Lolita Express. That's the nickname. That's the nickname other people gave the plane. Daryl Cooper pointed this out with Tucker. How many people in that area, Lolita, because it's always full of kids, you know, or you have a good indication of what he's doing, and they didn't say anything. But that's the culture of these people. They don't look at us as people. You're poor or whatever, compared relative to them. Like you're a nobody. You're just some prole. And they would call the girls they groom prostitutes and hookers. And it's like, well, no, they're people. But to them, no, you're just you're a commodity. That's all you are. Something to exchange between billionaires. I was thinking about it today. Just since Epstein's was murdered, and he was, there's 4 other billionaires that went to jail for kiddly fiddling. You had Robert Miller out of Quebec that R-word all those high school girls he had threesomes with in bathtubs, you know, Intercontinental Hotel, Elizabeth Hotel, and then he rented out 2 houses. He bought a house from Charles Bronfman, by the way. You had Peter Nygaard, another Canadian billionaire. And, you know, before he did his stint in the Bahamas, he was grabbing little kids from Winnipeg. And they told the police, and nothing happened. There's 2 billionaires right there. You had Mike Jeffries from Abercrombie and Fitch, another billionaire, homosexual predator, giving people hot water enemas and shaving their whole body and liquid Viagra and all that weirdo stuff he did, making them wear black gloves and hot pants and whatever. And he was hired by Wexner, another Wexner guy. There's always a Wexner or a Bronfman in the shadow, isn't there? And then Keith Rainier, he wasn't a billionaire, but he's in the millions. He had $100 million financed, again, from the Bronfman family, through Claire and then Sarah. And these are Edgar's children. And he branded women like you'd brand a cow, like with a hot iron, just putting, disgusting. So, you know, between Keith and Robert and Peter Nygaard and Mike Jeffries, like there's 4 that were arrested after Epstein and were doing this. And no blackmail. They're just billionaires and one millionaire that were just into this, like perverted life. This is how they are. Then you have Epstein and Maxwell themselves, and they would gang on girls sometimes. Little kids, Burnell also. This is how these degenerate I got a lot of words I'm not going to say because it's YouTube, but the first ones that you think came to my head.
PDF files.
Yeah, they're just disgusting, and Andrew's along with them. I'm sure the other royal, even when the royals are embarrassed by your behavior, it's got to be pretty bad.
You're getting asked whether you think Andrew was set up, because Ari Ben Menashe came on and he said that Andrew was a huge score for Israeli intelligence and for Epstein to attract other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because Andrew's a royal, so he's got access to a lot of, you know, he was friends with the Rothschild, so was Maxwell. That's who introduced them. If you look at his birthday party, there's a funny picture of Andrew, Maxwell, and Epstein, like Epstein's dressed like a boat captain and whatever. They're all together, and it's like these 2 went to jail, and this one had to pay a huge lawsuit. But it was a who's who of that party. Like, if you want to know the Epstein list, just look at Andrew's birthday party, because that's most of them. They're all there. Andrew knew Nygaard too. He cut a vacation 3 days short with his wife to go hang out with Peter Nygaard, who was like 20 years older than him. I mean, Nygaard's in his 80s then. I guess he's still in his 80s. But what are you doing? And don't tell me you went to the Bahamas, played volleyball or foosball. Everyone knows what you did with Peter Nygaard. The only reason you visit him in person. Prince Andrew, Randy Andy, or whatever you want to call him, he's like the Peter Bacon of pedos. He's always 1 degree or 2 degrees from Prince Andrew. He seemed to know all these circles, and they knew each other. The Bronfmans and Wexner knew Miller. They knew Rainier, of course. They knew Epstein, of course. Yeah, here's the photo. And you can see Giuffre in the window, like where the flash is. I don't know this, like you did have to zoom or whatever, but You can faintly see that big chin, little ogre, in the reflection there. And this is on the second floor, right by the stairwell. They go and have a bath so he can play with her feet because that's what he's into. And then they had sex for like 2 minutes. And she's intoxicated in that photo too. They plied her with alcohol. And now, and rest in peace, man. Like, haven't been on the show since she passed away. But look at Maxwell too, just grinning like like we brought him a gift. That's how they thought of it. Like, look what we brought you. Disgusting. And you know,
question.
I gotta say, I'll answer that question, but I gotta say this: like when they're like, "Well, Epstein would provide girls," like, no. I don't care if it's Bear Stearns, J.P. Morgan, Tower Financial, whatever. All of these places already know how to call an escort service, and all of these financial institutions already know how to launder money better than he does. Like, that is a skill they have. That's not why he was there. The one thing you can't get from an escort service, though, is children, because nobody does that. And that is a service he could provide.
So Poppy Himbo is saying MAGA is the title of the highest ranking priest within the Satanic Church. Is that a coincidence?
No, it's Magog. It's not MAGA, and it's not the highest priest, but whatever. That's funny.
End of times. Do you think the Wall Street Journal is receiving insider information from the White House officials or ex-officials?
Where they dug that from, it doesn't have to be from the White House, but it is interesting that they curated it to only Trump's message and no one else. Like I said earlier, you could not have only that unless they don't have and never saw the book. Someone gave them a snapshot of only that. But the first thing you would ask is, hey, let me see the rest of it. If this is from it. And they acted like it's a card. It's not. It's out of a leather case. It's a brown leather. If my memory serves me right, like this was on the internet about 10 years ago. But yeah, I don't know. They've kind of purged these things.
So Rupert Murdoch, they were buddies, weren't they, Trump and Murdoch?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we've got this lawsuit now in the billions. What do you make of all of that?
It's like South Park. I'll see you. I think Trump's strategy is he knows that Rupert Murdoch has one foot in the grave. And so if he sues him and drags it out, Murdoch's not going to make it. And Trump thinks his son is a puss, and he's correct. And that Rupert Murdoch's kid will just roll over and settle. That's probably the strategy. It's hilarious because Rupert Murdoch helped at low times finance people like Boris Berezovsky and some of the oligarchs that traveled in Trump's circles. But he doesn't care. Like, he's president, and he just sees him like, Trump is such a bully. He just sees like, Murdoch, you're weak, you're old. He won't make the pressure of a lawsuit. He's barely on earth. And I think he thinks that the son will capitulate. That would be my guess. Because they're not making this up. So yeah, they'll sue him.
Question from End of Times. FBI Special Agent Kelly McGuire testified in 2019 that during the raid of Epstein's residence, the FBI agents found a safe with CDs, computer hard drives, money, jewelry, and passports. How are they all missing? How are they all missing now?
Well, they're not missing. They have those. So what was odd though is when you're talking about, it was DVRs, but they look like a disc, whatever. But there was only a small window in the 90s and all when those were used. There were CDs and DVR, and then almost immediately it would go digital to thumb drives and things, which shows you how long this has been going on. And in a close-up of the box, you can see AV, and then it says Selena. And a lot of people think, and I think Kirby Summers was in agreement with me on this, said, well, AV is adult video, and that could be Dubin's child She would have been 16 or 15 at the time, who Epstein was the godfather for and dated her mother. That's who was in the house with Bill Gates when he wrote the dumb email saying they stayed long in the night. Some very attractive young women, girl. I get what are you talking about? The mom or whatever. He's such a nerd. But you can see that label AV. And so there's a stack of those. That box went missing for a day. And then I think they had Darren Endike. It might have been Cost, one of his lawyers. Oh, yeah, we have that, and brought it back. But did they swap anything out? No, I mean, they had it in possession all day. And who knows whether they're honest or not. I'm going to go with not. So whatever's in there now is not what was in there originally. And I think there was like $70,000 cash. There was a bunch of diamonds. There was 2 canceled passports and an Austrian passport with a Saudi Arabian address and Epstein's photo. It's a little odd. He would use those so he could travel around the Middle East. And it wasn't for his protection. It's because he also traveled to Israel. And if you travel to Israel and you have that stamp in your book, they won't let you in. So he had to have more than one passport. And he did. He had many. But that one was odd. And that was in his safe, like his little keepsake. He's like, oh, someone gave it to me. Like, oh, come on. A birdie gave it to me. Dude, you worked for intelligence. You did. That's why you have all these passports. You were moving things around and you needed to meet people in the Middle East. And we know he did. He met Khashoggi, for example, who's another pervert that used human toilets. And Trump bought his boat. What a coincidence. By boat, I mean yacht. No, this isn't audio and video. This is like adult video. It's AV and girl's name, AV girl's name on the CDs.
You're getting asked if this blowing up in the news again, as it has, is a threat to the Clintons right now. Are they sweating more than Prince Andrew?
I don't think Bill cares. He survived. I mean, from the time he was governor through president, he was being accused of R-wording women, from Jennifer Flowers to Monica Lewinsky. Now, Monica Lewinsky wasn't an R-word, but it's a 20-year-old intern he had an affair with who just happened to save a cum-stained blue dress. Sure. They had his phones tapped. Clinton had this ridiculous backup plan of like, the second to last time he met with Lewinsky, he said, we'll tell them that we knew the phone was tapped and we were just putting on a show for fun, immature, but we weren't really doing anything. That was his plan. Some diehard supporters they believe whatever he said. But even President Trump was talking about, why don't you ask Bill Clinton? Why don't you ask Larry Summers? He was throwing him under the bus. Now, here's the interesting thing. Although both. But when Clinton did fly around with Epstein, he knew him. You could see them there in the West Wing. I think that's in '93, if my memory serves right. And I remember saying that on your show, how early they met before anyone knew. And then these photos come out. I remember giving it to you. And they had a good relationship with Clinton. And yet, there's not a single underage girl that has come forward and said Clinton did anything with him. There are people of age that Clinton played around with, but there doesn't seem to be anybody. Of course, the Clintons will get rid of you. So that's one thing to worry about. But there's nobody saying that. Now, the problem is he's still there. You see the topless kids at the pool and stuff, and you don't do anything. You don't say anything. To me, that's like, you're still an accomplice because you clearly could have done anything. You're the president. You could have him arrested like that. And he doesn't. And it seemed that the Israeli intelligence was deeply interested in the talks between Ehud Barak and Clinton. It was supposed to be the deal of the century with Palestine, and they wanted to sabotage it. And Barak will say this, like, Netanyahu helped finance Hamas to sabotage any possibility of a peace talks because they go with the most radical wing that existed. They didn't want to work with the PLO. They didn't want peace. They call it trading land for peace, even though it's land they stole. So it's not really a trade. And so they had Clinton and they had Ehud Barak. Epstein was close to both of them, made sure to let them know you're not going to make a real deal. And then the deal, they call it the generous offer. It was absolute dog poo. Like, it was what the Palestinians were offered was not a deal at all. But they're all labeled it like that. But they were still stressed that Clinton might go through with a real deal. But he didn't. And they were also trying to push him to release Jonathan Pollard, which he did not do. He got impeached, but not confirmed. He has to go, the House can impeach you and the Senate does confirmation. He went and blew up some radar in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then they were like, okay, they didn't confirm, and then he immediately called off all the fighting. So a little credit to Clinton that he stood his ground somewhat. But if they had had him with kids, they could have made him do anything. They just had Lewinsky. And the fact that they had to send her in is because he didn't take the bait with Epstein. But he did have all the relations. And I think the way the Clintons did very similar thing with money laundering and Frank Guster and the Clinton Foundation, kind of better than Epstein, actually, for a while. They don't need his advice. He needs their advice. And they used Haiti, he used St. Thomas, so they were all using the Caribbean as a way of cleaning money, is what they say.
So you've been asked for your thoughts on the various options for Maxwell. There's the option of a pardon, there's the option of a sentence reduction, and if she does testify before Congress, she could talk about crimes and be completely immune from them.
Yeah, if they gave her partial immunity, they could do, and she could just get in there and start dropping names, which would get the people that she could name to pressure Trump to give her a pardon. The thing is, there's so much public pressure on the other side to not give her a pardon that this is a difficult situation. Like Trump he's got a lot of pressure from his donor class, but he also knows MAGA's dead if he does this. They will totally abandon him. It's over. So somewhere in the middle, she's got to give up some names. He's like, I can't give you a pardon. She's not going to go through this whole list. They'll kill her. But some of these people that, Wexner's in his 80s, like some of these people are almost dead anyway. Should throw them under the bus. We'll take it as a small W. I don't want her getting pardoned. Of course, we all want her to name everybody and stay in jail, but she's not going to do that. Like, she's only going to give up information if it helps her get released. So they're going to have to offer her something.
Regarding this next question from Louise about extraditing Maxwell to the UK from crimes committed here if she's pardoned. So, Louise, because the legal age is 16 in the UK, I don't think there is a UK case with Prince Andrew, that is, but perhaps there are other cases.
There is a case that can get her for prostitution, because even though the age of consent is 16, it's illegal to pay for sex at any age. And because they were paying the girls afterward, that's prostitution, and they could get her for that. That's where, like, it's rape, it's not prostitution. I'm like, well, legally it's prostitution, because then you can get them no matter where they are. That's what happened to Robert Miller, is he would pay them, because the age of consent in Canada was like 14. But prostitution's illegal, so they could nail her for that. So she would like, I didn't pay him, Epstein did, or whatever. Like, whatever.
Do you think she would go to Israel, though, because she would feel safer there?
If she got a passport and even a day out of jail, she'd go to Israel, because they won't extradite her and she'd be free as a bird. She'd do whatever she wants.
Because Candace is always talking about how Israel harbors the PDF files and won't extradite them.
Israel has everything. They have everything Epstein had. That's who he worked for. And Israel's a safe haven for pedos all over the world. They go there. The Israeli state has sponsored, like people in their government have been caught running child prostitution rings, rape tourism rings, and nothing happens. Their own president was jailed for R-wording 4 different people. Another prime minister SA'd some people and then went to jail for corruption first, but he also was guilty of that. And then another prime minister, Ehud Barak, who's palling around with Epstein. The other was Ehud Olmert, and the president was Moshe Katsav, and he got jailed. So there's a president and a prime minister in Israel did get jailed. And then there's Netanyahu. He just prefers to shoot the children. or starve him to death, as going on right now.
So, Lisa, yes, Robert Maxwell, I do believe, is at the core of his daughter's behavior. And John Sweeney, we got him on at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning talking about this. I mean, Robert Maxwell was the guy who would wipe his bum on a towel and just throw it on the floor for the staff to clean it up after him.
Very
I mean,
Lyndon Johnson of him.
what
LBJ,
kind of
did
an-
the same thing. LBJ
kind of an-
used to make people have conversations with him while he was on the toilet. Yeah, he's like all those daughters are a little messed up. And this is a guy that I'll have a little bit of sympathy for him, because he is running from country to country during World War II. He goes to France. France gets invaded. He goes to the UK. Like he had a stressful youth himself, but he's just been a career criminal. He had an import-export company for illegal arms that went to Israel. He would steal science and tech out of the Soviet Union and publish it in the UK. He stole pensions. He was a white-collar criminal. The guy, he's just an irredeemable piece of crap. And then, he birthed a bunch of criminals. But, the way he abused everyone else and the way he was, I'm sure they didn't have a happy childhood either. So, but, he spoke many languages. So does Glenn. I think she speaks 4 languages. Definitely French and English and Hebrew. But there's Virginia. Her parakeet.
Maria wants to know your thoughts on what happened to Virginia, and I'm sure Virginia is glad right now that this is Epstein's story is burning the political house down.
She's a large reason that this ball got rolling, and she did that. She took on billionaires and all the lawyers. She's like, I don't care. Like, this happened to me, and I'm going to tell everybody. Her story is kind of sad. So, obviously, with being serial raped since she was like 13 is bad enough. Then that was happening before she was passed on to Epstein. She finally escapes that. She, unfortunately, her marriage was falling apart. She wasn't allowed to see her own children. It really broke her when she couldn't see them over Easter. She feels like they're going to be adults soon, and her motherhood is over. Her marriage is over. She was destroyed inside, because that marriage was how she coped with everything else. And she was self-medicating. Her own family said that. Like, she was taking painkillers and other things. And an odd thing happened. She got in a car accident. She didn't cause it. A bus hit a car that she was a passenger in. And so they made her go to the hospital, because if you get in a car accident, you get checked over. And in that checkup, they discovered your kidneys are failing. Like, you've got days to live. Now, the papers and stuff all twisted this around, acting like the car accident wasn't so bad. They didn't break her kidneys. That's not what she was talking about. She wasn't saying that the impact of the car destroyed her kidneys. Just getting in a car accident at all made her go to the hospital. And then serendipitously, they discovered your kidneys are done. Like, they looked at her eyes and like, you're going to die soon. And she said so. I've got days to live, kidney failure. And it's like no one believed her, because they're all like, the car accident wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't from the car accident. It was from years of self-medicating that her kidneys were going to fail. And still her kids wouldn't come to see her, which is sad, man. It's messed up after everything she went through. And she was on this like ranch north of Perth. It's the middle of nowhere in Australia. And she put up to somebody that I used to know. It's an Australian singer, forget the name, but it's a breakup song, on her Instagram. And then she put up a post. It was just a black nothing with a broken heart emoji. And that's the night she died. And I fully understand people were like, I bet they killed her. Da, da, da. There was really no reason for that risk. Like, she said what she said, and she went through her lawsuits and was done. It'd be stupid to risk murdering her. She had an empty bottle of painkillers next to her because she got something from the accident. She decided, I don't care. She took them all. I talked to the paramedics and things. She killed herself. But in a way, you could argue they drove her to it, because they had a vested interest to make her life hell after she got Maxwell and Epstein arrested. A lot of it was because of her. And then, Prince Andrew has to pay out the millions, and she named other names, and those people, their reputations were dead. They're shot, So a lot of people hated her. And I wouldn't doubt it at all if they interfered with her marriage and anything else they could do to mess up her life. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. And so in a way, they killed her. But she did take her own life, unfortunately.
Next question is from Versace Boy. And what did Bongino mean when he said he's seen things that have shocked him to the core and he will never be the same?
Probably some of the recordings Epstein did on his own properties of himself abusing kids. I mean, he took, I don't even know if I can say it. He used objects in exits. Yeah. Something Lindsey Graham would do. Just imagine that. That's what he did.
Who has the most power with the elites, Trump or the Clintons?
Right now, Trump, because he's president. But in general, it's the Clintons.
Yeah.
When you say the elites, what do you mean? Like
the globalists, the deep
I hate
state.
that word because they're not superior. Elite means superior. You mean elitists. They think of themselves like that. There's nothing superior about printing money. Just any crook can do it. The donor class has a lot of power. So when we talk about AIPAC, they run Congress, they run the show, but the only thing above AIPAC is where do you think they get their money? They get it from a couple dozen billionaires. That's the mega group, the mega donors. That's the Wexner, Steinhardt, Bronfman cabal. That's where the power is. But even they take direction from the Israeli government. Because ultimately, you know what the ultimate power is? You know what's more powerful than money? Force. And they have it.
All right, next question is, how come Biden didn't use the files about Trump being on the list to undermine the election?
Same thing. It's like mutual destruction because they did try to spread those rumors and things, but they don't have a list, first off. But a lot of this Biden's donors and things don't want anyone talking about Epstein at all because it's a matter of time before they're next. And Trump would tell on everybody. Like if they ever said that, then he was like, oh yeah, like he sort of started doing to Larry Summers and Clinton. He'll just start naming them too. So it's kind of like mutually assured destruction. You can't do it. And that's why people are like, maybe Trump's not on the list because they would have used it if he was on it. Yeah, or they can't use it because he would use that. But look, man, they tried to put him in jail. They tried to impeach him twice. They tried to blow his head off. He was friends with Epstein, but not Trump is not messing with children. But he definitely had to have known about it and didn't act on it. But there was, David Wolf believes that Epstein thought that Trump was the one who told on him. That Trump went to the police in 2004, and that's what started the investigation that ultimately got him arrested in 2007. And that's someone you can't ignore. When these girls tell their parents and their parents tell the cops, they don't care. But when a billionaire like Trump says it, you can't make that go away. And Epstein, when they had this fallout over the Abe Gosman property, Wexner dispute at Mar-a-Lago, he thought that Trump had turned on him. But I don't know about David Wolf's truthfulness because he does a lot of stuttering and blinking and who knows. Sounds good. I'm just saying what he said, but I don't think so.
Yeah, we've reached out to him. We're trying to get him on. So JD wants to know, what about Bill Gates and Epstein? What's your thoughts on those two?
Bill Gates had an affair with one of his employees back in the year 2000. Of age, but not by much. But the biggest clue, aside from like the email I mentioned earlier when he had dinner with the Dubins and Epstein, it's not like Bill Gates needs advice on raising money or whatever for his vaccine campaign or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He can have professionals do that. He doesn't need Epstein, but he's meeting with Epstein physically. And there's really only one reason to do that. But the biggest tell is his wife citing why she divorced him was over his Epstein relationship. Now, she didn't come out and say exactly what that was, but I don't think it was from the financial advice. So what else could it be? And he's such an easy target. He was the richest man in the world at one point. He's an absolute nerd with no mojo. And that's just, he's just ripe for bait. He's got money. He has no swag. And that is an easy target for a honey trap.
Beloved wants to know if you're still getting harassed for covering these stories.
Yes, of course. Get rumors spread about me, harassment, kept throwing off all the payment processors. I'm banned on everything but X. So. It doesn't matter, man. They're R-wording kids. There's nothing lower, besides murdering them, and they're doing that too.
Do you think we will ever know the whole truth and nothing but the truth regarding the Epstein files?
No, but not the whole thing. But I think if I could get people to know half of what I know, it would be enough. Like, it's disgusting. And the information's out there. Like, a list can be compiled if you want a list. I mean, I got one on my wall back there. It's kind of dark, but if you listen to the victims' statements and you listen to their own staff, it doesn't even have to be Epstein's staff. Like, what is his name? Ronald Rizzo. He was a chef for Glenn Dubin. And he saw Maxwell and Ava Dubin. They could hear the, like, clickety-clackety high heels coming down the hall. This 15-year-old Swedish girl was shaking like a leaf, like fear, like physically. She couldn't barely speak. And he's like, what's wrong, And they're like, she's working for us tonight. So that's an adult, like, this is not an abuse victim or anything. This is someone, a staffer that worked for Dubin, saying this, and it corroborates what, say, Virginia said about the Dubin. She was forced to massage Ava while she was pregnant and then sleep with her husband and just disgusting stuff in a hotel. It's like not a super famous name like Bill Gates or Bill Clinton. These are just boring hedge fund manager, banker nerds. Why would she know him at all? And this is testimony from way back when. This isn't after 2019 when the story broke. So that's how you can go through and you can read transcripts and things. You can read the lawsuits from Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, US Virgin Islands, where do you want to guess how the total is? I just added it up the other day and I just forgot one and I added it today. $957.8 million in payouts. Yeah. The biggest chunk was 290 from JP Morgan to class action to victims, 150 from Deutsche Bank to victims. Then you had 75 from both to the Virgin Islands, 62 from Leon Black, 16 from Prince Andrew. Then you have the forced sale of all his properties. It ends up close to $1 billion. And there's another 26.25 million in from U.S. shareholders to Deutsche Bank, but it's over red flags that it's Epstein, but it was also some Russian oligarchs and other figures. So it's not purely Epstein. So I didn't even count that. But some portion of that ought to also be added to the 957. So you could say 957.8 plus million dollars in payouts to all these victims. They're like, oh no, it was all Epstein. They trafficked them all to him. 400 victims. 400 victims. That's a lot of Jane Does.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Look, man, we're almost at an hour, and I don't want to overexert you with your eyes recovering. There's still tons of questions, but how are you feeling at this point?
I'm all right. I'll throw in the shades if I need it.
So do you want to do a few more questions then?
Yeah, let's at least round out the hour, yeah.
All right, so Manu Man wants to know how many Epsteins are out there?
It's disgusting. Like I think I said at the beginning of the show, look at Nygaard, Billionaire, are doing diaper parties in the Bahamas. Robert Miller of Quebec, He used to give the girls a hockey bag full of goodies and do threesomes in his. He had an F tub custom built in one of his hotels, so he could. Yeah, he's a billionaire. Mike Jeffries from Abercrombie did it was to men, but another one. They were young. They weren't underage in the countries that he did it. But dude, whatever. And like I said, he had 16 counts of human trafficking and 15 for interstate prostitution. And he had cases in Spain, France, the United States. Like this is all over the place. So it makes you wonder who's the next billionaire that's doing this that we don't know about. And it's not for blackmail. Like it's just the culture of how they are, which makes it so easy to rope them in because a lot of them already act like this. I know some potentials. I'm digging evidence on them right now, and it looks like, there's a couple more that are about to fall. And it's so disgusting. Like, why are you like this? And why are so many? There's people in Congress right now. There's a woman from Illinois that is caught red-handed 100% with sexual blackmail from both Turkey and Israel. And the media doesn't say anything about it. And the FBI knows about it. And she's married to a criminal too, a convicted criminal. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it's a great question. It's like how many more of them are there? I mean, there aren't that many billionaires, but of the few, look at all the ones I just rattled off that already got caught, that already went to prison. That's what I can't stress enough. This is just how these people are. They're disgusting. And it's the same thing. These billionaires in the Middle East and other places in Asia, when they all do this stuff. Dubai has human toilet tours.
Gail wants to know, why is Israel so powerful over the US government?
Because of bribery. They have an unregistered lobby that just pays off the lawmakers. And because of the Christian evangelical wing inside the United States. I mean, they call themselves Christian, but whatever. Like, they're just Israel worshipers.
All right, so we got a super chat here. I know many PDFs in fashion and can't wait to expose them. They are everywhere, unfortunately. Many normies that sympathize with the PDFs. I know they're trying to normalize it, aren't they, by calling them minor attracted people. You've got a question here as well. What kind of a sentence do you think Diddy will get?
Oh, he's going to get smacked in the civil suits because Lil Rod has receipts. I've seen him. Like I never thought the case with Cassie, I was like, whatever. Like, she was part of it. There's emails from her looking forward to the next freak off. And he did beat the crap out of her, and he had to pay millions of dollars for that, and he had to pay the hotel millions of dollars. So he already had been punished there. But when it comes to Rodney Jones, that's where Diddy's cooked. And this is where, when everyone's talking about white parties and this and that person and all that, that's all this. This is that case. What they limited to, it was weird in his previous trial where he got acquitted. Even though they're admitting to illegal narcotics and prostitution, that's not what he was on trial for. I'm like, but you're incriminating yourself by admitting. Well, they call them escorts, so maybe it's not prostitution, but yes, it is.
Aaron wants to
Robert
know.
Kraft's another one. He fiddled around with escorts. That's another billionaire that was essaying women, and he worked for Global Apollo. He's on the board with Leon Black. Huh. Leon Black used to ship models to Epstein, and then he act like, I didn't know what he was doing. Impossible.
Aaron wants to know your thoughts on Palantir and whether they are keeping Trump from exposing the Epstein truth.
I don't think that's what's is keeping him from. I mean, Palantir sucks. Like, they use that to murder Palestinians. They use those things, but It's the Israel lobby. Like Trump does whatever they command. When the day Netanyahu comes to America, the next day, they're like, what list? What desk? What are you talking about? Who's Epstein? Like, who is that? Click. And, they promised we're going to release the files. It's on my desk. Here it comes. Da, 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 da. And then Netanyahu comes, says, get rid of it. And all of them every single one of them from, Patel, Bondi, Bonangino, they're all like, well, actually, da, da, da. And they released this stupid tape. Let me tell you how dumb this tape is. Everyone's over-focused on the missing minute, and it doesn't matter. Let me just explain why. You can all Google this or whatever. You index it. They found Epstein at 6:33 in the morning. What all happened at 11:59 is irrelevant because that wasn't the time of the murder, and the tape ends before his body was found. And here's the other part, the glaring hole of that story of how stupid it is to film Door 46. Every single cell in the shoe has 2 cameras in the cell. Were they not working? And here's the third part. Those cameras that are in his room in the shoe, were they not working when he got beat up or attempted suicide? Because you get 2 conflicting stories. Where is that footage? Oh, it's missing. Well, how come you don't have camera footage from inside Epstein's cell when he supposedly tried to kill himself once, and you're not watching him while he's in the cell? You don't even have recordings of that? This is one of the most high-profile guys. I think the floor above him is like the 9/11 people, whatever. But the next, the highest level guy, and you're not filming his cell. Bull crap. They needed him dead. The day I think it was a Sunday, he died on like Monday morning, whatever. He signed it's called the 1953 Trust, probably after the year he's born. So he moved his money. And once they had his money, he's nothing but a liability. He's completely useless. Even if he gets out from some plea bargain, flips something, he can never go back to doing what he was doing. He's got too much heat, too many eyes on him. He's totally expendable after he signed off his money. And it was hours. It was like that night. Like he signed a 1953 trust and he was dead the next morning. And it's like, oh, the cameras didn't work. And I'm thinking, why are you showing us the camera footage of his door from the night before? I want to see the camera footage from inside the cell of the morning he was actually killed. Or at least show the door the morning he was killed so you can see someone go in and out of there. No. And they hoodwink the public because the public doesn't go back and look and know that he's murdered at like 5 in the morning or whatever because they find him at 6:33. So the tape that goes to like 4 in the morning, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. It stops, I think, at 6. So you have another half hour or so for someone to go in the door, choke him out, break a bone in his neck. I mean, even his own brother didn't believe it. And it's like, okay, if he didn't kill himself and he was murdered, then not only do you believe that he was murdered, but you have to believe that they covered it up. And Mark Epstein's like, yeah. The pathologist, all he can say is physically, this looks like murder. As far as the other stuff of how they got someone in to murder him and get out and all that, like, then you have a conspiracy. Because you can't just waltz into a jail and murder somebody and waltz out. Either someone who's already in the jail, like his roommate, or it's a professional that you allowed in and you allowed to leave. And you have to get rid of the cameras in the cell to do that. Now, each cell has 2 of them. It's the dog ate it level stupid excuse to say both cameras in the cell didn't work. The guards were asleep, I can believe, because they probably just do that all the time. And them not doing rounds with the flashlight every half hour, I believe that too. But the cameras, after he had a supposed attempted suicide and just got off suicide watch, and you're not looking at that. And the warden just kind of quietly retired, got replaced. There must have been some kind of shame or something. Like, this guy, Maxwell's the only one left. And she's really not privy to anything he did after 2008, not much. She knows a lot. She's the only one they can put the squeeze on that can really get into his operation. And, you know, this is what's exciting about the 11th. I'll say right now, Maxwell didn't kill herself because she's going to have a heart attack or something. If she does she's got to really balance herself. She needs to get up enough names for clemency, but not too many names of anybody that's going to be in power for a while that isn't in their 80s or whatever, because that's they're going to say she made it up because she's just trying to get out of jail and whatever, and she'll end up dead.
What do you think about the increasing amount of people who think Epstein is alive and perhaps in Israel?
That's what I call the loose changing of an issue. He is not alive. He is of absolutely no use to them, being arrested twice. He cannot go back to operations. He can't liaison with anyone. He can't meet with anyone, especially if you're pretending to be dead. Israel would be the place he would go, but they don't owe him anything. They don't care about him. And plus, he had 2 autopsies on his corpse, one which included his brother. So he'd have to have his brother's faking it, and they had a rubber doll or whatever. It's harder to sneak him out of prison and have some dead body double or something, whatever they think. Like, that's more hard than just killing him. But what they're doing, and I've seen this sort of effort with a lot of Epstein's victims too, is the QAnon, Alex Jones types keep pushing, frankly, retarded scenarios, trying to get you to bite. And what they've done to some of these victims is they browbeat them to death. They're like, well, wasn't this, isn't it? Until they go, yeah, I saw that. And it's like, boom, gotcha. You got some of them saying, I saw him turn into a lizard. Well, no, you didn't. But if they realize they can get a lot of attention online if they would just lean into it. And so they'll say this crap. And it's on purpose because it undermines any true thing they may have said. They've lost all credibility. And you saw that with people like Sarah Ramsden, who had to change her testimony. Like, oh, I saw it. No, I didn't. Don't do that. Don't lie, because you're making all the other victims less credible when you do that. But I understand these girls, like, they were abused. They are, not all of them are like the most educated people on earth. They're pretty easy to manipulate. That's why they were targeted in the first place. And these assholes online just sit there and go, it was this, wasn't it? Did you see this guy? Did you see this guy? You see this guy? You see that guy? Yeah, maybe I saw Leonardo. And then that's it, because they didn't. So you get that. And the Epstein still alive thing is like the loose change. It's like the people denying airplanes on 9/11. That is not an endorsement of the official story. But what it does is it makes the unofficial story look retarded. And that's what they're doing with Epstein. They are trying to be like, look at his ear. I've heard it all. Like, he's buried next to his parents. You have a corpse. You had 2 autopsies. They definitely need him dead. There's no way they're going to sneak him out. Like, why arrest him in the first place? Just don't even arrest him if you're going to do that. They did not break into jail and get him out and put some other body in there, or get all the EMTs and all the. You'd have to have all these people in on it faking stuff. It's dumb. They murdered him for sure. But what's funny is more people think he's still alive than think he killed himself, which is great.
There is an increasing.
That makes more sense than him killing himself. Honestly, like, that is the dumbest thing ever.
So Jane wants to know, is it possible that Wexner was made to give unlimited funds to Epstein due to the success he was having with the elites?
No, that's not what was going on. They had these, he set him up with Gratz. He did the same thing for Leon Black as guarantor remunerated, I have to look. I'm going to look it up because I'm going to mess it up. But one thing that he would do for Wexner is Epstein had like half of U.S. Virgin Islands on his payroll. They would give him U.S. visas and things for the girls and stuff. And Cecil DeYoung, as I mentioned, $200,000 salary. There's still an ongoing case with Stacey Plaskett, by the way. That has not gone away, and it does include co-conspirators. That is something we could jump on. She's the U.S. Virgin Islands representative to the United States. They're not a state, but they get like a representative as an unincorporated territory, whatever. what he would do is he got himself 300 million in tax breaks using this odd economic development fund they had in the Virgin Islands, where if you had at least 10 employees and you spent 100 grand in the U.S. Virgin Islands, you could get up to a 90% tax break. He ended up about 96%. So all he had to do is take money from his Southern Trust or whatever from Wexner, move it there, and avoid taxes. Now, if you're a billionaire like Les Wexner, you're saving. If Epstein saved 300 million, how much did Wexner save? A lot more than that. And then what Wexner would do is, instead of paying him, he'd gift him a house, which he did twice. He basically gave him a house in New York. And another thing he did is he and Epstein basically built a small village in New Albany, Ohio. And Wexner bought a house there and then sold it back, or not Wexner, Epstein bought a house there and then sold it back to Wexner Foundation for double the price almost immediately. So it's like you buy a house and they sell it for twice as much as what you bought it for, which is a way that Wexner's paying you without paying you. And this is the kind of crap they were doing over and over again. That's why you see all these really lavish gifts from Les Wexner. Like, why would you give him a mansion? Why would you do this? Why would you do that? It was like, because he's moving his money around in the Virgin Islands. He had power of attorney and all that. So he's like, oh, that's not his money. That's Epstein's money. And Epstein doesn't have to pay taxes. But it's still Wexner's money. And you got to understand, before Epstein was an asset for Israeli intelligence, so Wexner was there first. Wexner and Bronfman were part of that syndicate probably when Epstein was born. I mean, they had been there forever. So they're all moving money around for the Israelis. And like, I'm not saying it's a front, because Victoria's Secret and Bed Bath & Beyond are real companies and they do have revenue and they were making money. But a lot of that money ends up financing organized crime, lobbies, bribes, sick stuff like that. But Epstein has to be the conduit to do the dirty stuff, so that you have a fall guy. Same thing with Bear Stearns. They hired him knowing he would break the regulations, but then they can go, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. We'll fire that asshole and we'll fine him 20 grand or whatever. He didn't care. Like, he lands on his feet, because all these financial institutions hire cutouts to do the stuff that they don't want to do, and then blame it all on them if they get caught. And if they don't get caught, they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And you'll see it all the time. You'll see that with drug companies and stuff too. They will do and just go ahead and pay lawsuits. They will put out products that harm people and whatever, will pay it off. They do the math and they're like, what are we going to make? How much are we going to lose in lawsuits? I do it over and over again. This is how the world operates. And that's the kind of, I can't really explain it really super fast, but with Wexner, he was laundering his money for him. And it's still Wexner's money. It was kind of like, yeah. But Epstein was living like a Saudi prince. He was living like a magnitude more than money he had on paper. But he was getting very lavish gifts and fees from this billionaire class, because he was able to save them so much money. And this is something the Israelis do, is the way they pay assets. You're not going to get it from the equivalent of the Treasury. Like, you're not a Mossad agent. You're an asset. So they don't pay you with a salary. They pay you through this money conduit of gifts and housing and tax breaks and that kind of stuff, which aren't awarded to everyone. You got to be on the team, and that they are.
So it was Elon Musk who kind of lit the fire that started to burn the Trump house down with this Epstein file stuff. And the question from Beloved is, do you think Elon is clean?
No, but I leave him alone because he gave me my account back. But, I mean, he's a weird guy. He's got like 14 baby mamas, all like legally. Like, he just doesn't, whatever. He's got the money. He's been impregnated all these people, and he wants to colonize Mars and whatever. He's kind of a weird dude, but he got mad about deficit spending. That's why he made Doge and everything and cut off USA. Just the first week of Trump, he was doing okay, and then whatever. But So he's like, I think he's not releasing Epstein because he's on the list. And buddy, that's all it took, man. They're like, yeah, because I'm mad. He never really released JFK files. He just re-released things we already had. RFK and MLK, no one care about. I do, but no one's even read what's been released there. It's all Epstein. That's the only one they care about. They don't care about all these other billionaires that are kitty fiddling. It's just this one. And it's because such a mystique was built around it because of the manner that he was killed, and QAnon and all, they were very interested in this. And he's Bill Clinton, and it's like, it's celebrities, and it's a big deal. This is the one they care about, and he cannot make it go away. He's like, are you still talking about that guy? I'm like, buddy, they're going to talk about Epstein forever, like they did JFK for at least 30 years. It was, do you know who was on the grassy knoll? It's never going away because this is the biggest story. I mean, you got an international PDF ring, as you use the term, with, princes, prime ministers, but like that's not going to go away. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you can temporarily make it go away by starting a war with Iran or something, but they're not going to drop it. He doesn't get it. Like, why are you still talking about him? Like, why not? They've kind of given up hope with Biden. Like, at least with Trump, some of them think he might do something, and they expect that out of him, which you should. You should have expected it out of Biden, too. We should be able to expect the president of the United States to go against the criminal PDFers, but the way Biden would sniff hair and the way his son has a whole laptop of sickness, nah, not that family. They bought property in Water Island, by the way, right north of Little St. Jeffreys. There's just sick. The Biden family is all organized crime. They're just irredeemable. Trump, compared to that, is better, but that doesn't make him good. It just means he's better than the worst, which is what we were stuck with. But his base are good people. Like his fans really, really believed that they trusted the plan and like he was going to come down. And what would be hilarious is if from all the public pressure about Epstein, that Maxwell does have to give up names to say, to try and get clemency. And so indirectly, Trump does put a lot of these people behind bars. That would be the best. If she just got in there on the 11th and just started going through this, then I'd be happy with that. Even if she got out or she gets out in 10 years or whatever, if she will go after this syndicate, this could change the world. Like if you got rid of these Zionist billionaires, their power is gone and you can't replace that easily. We wouldn't have any more wars. It'd all be over. Like this fixes everything. It's all up to her. If she could just say who it is and they really did get arrested, that would be a world-changing event. But there's a lot of pressure on her. Like, you open your mouth, you're dead. We don't care how bad it looks. Oh, we'll see. I mean, this is super exciting. But if he gives her a pardon with no conditions and no names, I don't think it's going to be peaceful in the United States. I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to put up with that at all.
I agree. You're getting asked about Epstein's transhumanism and baby farming.
He had some weird beliefs in cryogenics. He wanted to freeze his brain and penis. You can't do that, by the way. But Robert Miller was into cryogenics too. I mean, he's still alive. I don't know why I say was, but he's got Parkinson's. He's on his way out. But they have these fantasies where he wanted to pass his DNA off to his ballerina types or whatever. He wanted to immortalize himself. They were not stealing eggs or baby farming. That is just hook'em. But he definitely believed in some weird stuff and wanted to impregnate a bunch of young girls.
Thanks for the super chat, David Neal. And you're getting asked about the royal family.
I know him.
Think they will...
He's from the Outer Banks.
Do you think the monarchy will last with all of the controversy?
Yeah, they'll survive it. And honestly, as much as I don't like monarchies, what Andrew did is what Andrew did. You can't really blame them all. So it's never going to be the same, though. They will not have the mystique and respect they used to carry. It's just like, oh, you bunch of PDFers. Like, so we're going to look at them like. I don't. Which one was it that did the? Well, I'm not going to pick on them. I had some. I won't.
Don't these people know that they will eventually get blackmailed by those folks? They are so pompous and arrogant. Yeah, how do they fall into these traps so easily?
They don't care. They're into PDFing. And probably Prince Andrew's friends didn't know when they're invited to parties and they get ensnared, accidentally. Oh, you get a 16, 17-year-old with a bunch of makeup and there's alcohol and they screw up and that's the end of their life. But a lot of these decadent elitist princes and stuff, they're bored and they live off other people's money and the real welfare queens, and they enjoy, plugging the peasants, as they say. And a lot of the French elitists, same way. Same thing they did with Bernal and stuff. They like plugging hoes. The person I'm talking about knows I'm talking about him right now, by the way. These little, I don't want to give any hints, but there's a lot of people still out and about that are on that client list or on Bernal's list. There's a lot of overlap between Bernal and Wexner's list too, and I just call it Wexner's list because that's what it is. But there's a lot of overlap. These people are sick, man, and you think, why would you do that? You're going to be compromised. And I've explained this before. There's different types of blackmail. There's the do it or else kind that everyone's familiar with. Like, if you don't do this, I'll release this tape. But there's also, there's the casting couch time. So if you do this, you get a reward. Like, you don't get you'll get further in your job if you But there's also the insurance policy kind. And I explain that like a gang that says, shoot this guy and prove you're not a cop. Do something that will compromise you in front of the group. And we know you're in and you're in for life. And that's these guys, these people, like, it was a reward to PDF. And they don't mind it because they're into this sick crap. And like, sure, yeah, I'll prove I'm sick in the head. I'm one of you. And so it's not blackmail like they're gonna, and that's the kind, like, if you film it on your property, it's like, okay, you have it, but you can't use it without mutual destruction because you implicated yourself. So it's a way of like having them, but they have you too. And it's kind of like, okay, we're in the club. And you don't get promoted as a politician by this group unless they already have you compromised. It's not that they go after politicians and try and compromise them. That happens, but it's more so the case where they compromise somebody and then they put all their money and push that person into politics because they have them from the start. That was the case with Dennis Hastert. I mean, he'd been essaying little boys since he was a wrestling coach. He ended up becoming the Speaker of the House, the third most powerful person in the world.
Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. You're getting asked about how Trump met Melania?
I think it was at one of his modeling pageant things. I don't remember. He was into that stuff. Trump was lecherous. He cheated on all his wives. He loved that. You see, you got to think in the 80s, 90s, supermodels were the pinnacle of like the best girl or whatever it is. It was supermodel, Sports Illustrated, Victoria's Secret, whatever. That was the creme de la creme. And Trump would go to these Miss Universe, Miss whatever, Miss Moscow, Miss what something, and all these pageants and stuff, and flirt with models and cheerleaders and whatever. And I believe he met Melania at one of these parties.
Okay. We're almost at 90 minutes, Ryan. How are you feeling right now with your eyes?
I'll do about 10 more minutes. We get some questions. I'm going to try these.
All right. It seems like the Comeys appear everywhere, Ryan, whether it's the Diddy case, the Epstein case.
Yeah.
Are they just brought in when a case has to be processed? Are they just brought in to manipulate the outcome?
They're there for damage control. Which is, I guess, manipulating the outcome as well. But it's damage control. So they're like, oh, look, but they don't get along. Like, no, man, they're all in the same clique. They protected Hunter Biden too. They're like, oh, but they're opposites. No, man, the right and left are two wings of the same bird. You saw that with Eric Holder and Robert Mueller, and it didn't matter. Like, these people aren't serious.
I just want to remind people as well, we've got almost 2,000 watching live across all platforms. Ryan's X and Ryan's store. Those links are in the description box, but I've also just put them in the live chat. And our walls are regaled with the Epstein maps, the Biden crime family maps. So I would urge people to decorate their homes thusly. What's your view on Maureen Comey being fired?
Yeah, it's almost like petty Trump revenge, because he's like, you guys are fake news. You did all these fake cases against me and Russiagate and na. But it's a little odd of like, hey, this person oversaw Maxwell's case and you're just getting rid of her. Like, you need to explain why. You can't just do that and let the public start inventing reasons. You need to say, and he doesn't, he's not making the best moves, because that sure does look bad. It looks like, oh, you're on the list and you want to get rid of your political enemies. That's what it looks like.
Pearl is glad that your eyesight is recovering, but do you think there was anything suspicious about you getting that?
It is like a 0.02% chance of getting it. Although the doctor said more people recently have been getting this condition. Like, people get this, but they get it when they're like 60 or 70, not in their 40s. But I think with my almost complete lack of sleep, that probably contributed to it. I did have an early accident with my eye when I was 10 years old. I had a piece of asphalt shot through my eye. So I don't know how that's related or not, but it's always been kind of like in a weakened state. But I do wonder sometimes, like, even when I get sick, I'm like, am I having poison or something like that? Those thoughts go through my head because I've already been canceled and everything. And I'm like, why would they do this? But now I think I'm just unlucky. And because I have a twin brother, he doesn't have any of these problems. We're genetically the same, but I think it's the lack of sleep was a lot of it. And so I am being much better about not staying up all night and all day. It's something I had to burn the candle at both ends because I was canceled. I had to work 20-hour days all the time to take care of my family. And it's cumulative and it catches up with you, and you end up with a bunch of ailments when you're still young. And I have them. I have a problem with my eye. I got problems. I got health problems because I didn't sleep enough. But if I hadn't worked, we wouldn't have made it. And it would have been so easy if I was just allowed on PayPal or allowed on Patreon, or if I had a YouTube, things would be fine. In fact, I'd be extremely wealthy. But I was kicked off everything. So I had to work all the time and, get BS from everybody and have my work stolen by other people. And this is the life I've had to live. And it's disgusting because, like, I'm the guy going against PDFers, against war, against all these horrible things. And what do I get in return? I get canceled on everything. And that's probably contributed to it. But I don't think somebody Havana syndrome me or anything like that. I think it's just part of bad sleeping patterns. I eat right, exercise, and do all that, but I used to not sleep for real. And you can see the dark circles under my eyes are perpetual. Like, I just never get to sleep because I was always working. So yeah, I'd be a father in the day, and then at night I would work. I got to work. I also got to, give them my attention, and I sacrifice my health for it. So it's on me too.
You've got a few people have asked about whether this threat to arrest Obama for Russian gate is just a sideshow distraction to take the heat away from the Epstein fire.
They're not going to arrest Obama. I think Trump's serious about expressing his anger because look, Russiagate was absolute crap, and they are guilty. But they're not going to arrest Obama. They just won't. He's too connected. And how come you didn't do this right when you became president again, or when you were president before? Just, the timing looks really bad, and it looks like a diversion. Why don't you talk about this? Said Epstein, like, buddy, it doesn't matter. You could do Russiagate. You could go after Hunter. You could have it. Nothing is going to bump Epstein out of the news cycle other than a war. And even that, it would be back in the cycle when the war was done. They're never going to let that go. But when people say it's only a distraction, like it is being used as a distraction, but that doesn't mean it's not true. They did create this Russia hoax crap, and they should pay a price for it. They're not going to, but they should. And it's something like, yeah, you're right. They absolutely made this up, and they all lied about Hunter's laptop too. 51 intelligence officers, like, it was a conspiracy. They absolutely lied. There should be consequences. But we all know the only reason you're bringing this up is to divert the attention away from Jeffrey Epstein. We all know it.
IB wants to know, why are there so many pictures of Trump and little girls? Is that because of all the beauty pageants that he did?
So beauty pageants, is some of them are of his own daughters. And so they're like, oh, who's that? Like, Ivanka. Like, that's his kid. So it's not a big deal. And some of it's AI. So and that's what really bothers me now is you can fake anything with AI nowadays. And it's like you're going to be able to incriminate people, and they're also going to be able to go, oh, that ain't me, that's AI. You're going to be able to say that. It's indistinguishable already. Like sometimes they put too many fingers, or people have extra long limbs and they mess up, but it's going to get to the point where you can't tell the difference. And I've seen just about every Epstein picture there is since from like 2007 and now. And I know like when there's a picture and then somebody's been added to it or whatever, because I've seen the original one and I remember it. But how is someone going to archive all this later? It's going to be impossible. And the more people that are out there faking and doing better jobs of it, we're entering a zone where you will not be able to tell what's real. Even video, you can fake whole videos now too. So we only have this short time before the AI takeover to really prosecute these people, because they'll put out fake things of themselves and then go, oh, look, it was fake. See, it was made right here. And you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to, you can already do it, I think, but it'll be like anybody with a PC will be able to do it. And it's bad. And a lot of these memes, like, yeah, there's kids, or he's at a pageant, and a lot of it's fake. I see some of the same like 3 pictures over and over again where he's got them in their lap. And I'm like, look, Trump has 6 fingers. That's such a bad fake. Count them, Or Epstein's body just disappears into a couch and he has no legs. Like, come on, those are terrible. And it's like, don't do that, because there are real photographs and video of them together. So you don't have to make this up. So why would you make it up? Because when you make fake ones, it discredits the real ones. It's the loose changing of an issue. That's what they're doing.
Do you think Trump was threatened? Do you think Trump was threatened, or his family have been threatened, and that's why he's done an about turn on Epstein files?
He nearly had his head blown off. I don't think. I think Netanyahu came down and told him no, and so he's complying. I mean, his friendship with Netanyahu is far worse than Epstein. They're starving children to death, and he knows it. He's like, meh, Hamas. That's the friendship I'd worry about. I don't need the Epstein stuff. Like, he's already buddies with Satan. And one thing I'll say for people pissed about the PDFing, don't ever shop at anything from Les Wexner. Do not buy Victoria's Secret. Do not buy anything from LL Brands. Do not get Bed Bath & Beyond. Do not buy Seagram's liquor from the Bronfman family. They're a bunch of crooks anyway. If you're going to drink liquor, just don't do that one. If you're going to buy underwear, just don't go there. You have to boycott these people, hit them in the wallet. Nobody should be buying anything that Wexner owns at minimal. It's not even asking you to do something. It's just asking you to not do something. Like, don't spend your money on those places. And keep an eye on the Stacey Plaskett case. There has to be a lot of public pressure to not throw this out. Now, they said in March of this year that this would go through and there would be a trial. So that, and along with Maxwell and the 11th, those are the biggest things going in the PDF case for Epstein. Those are the two things.
All right,
I
well
don't have
said,
a
brother.
YouTube. Someone said they just subscribed. It's just fans account. I'm not allowed on YouTube.
He's banned.
Yeah, I'm banned on everything. It's just somebody pretending to be me or something. But I do have a Substack, ryandawson.org, and I do have a Twitter that's at @RightLiberty. It's on the screen. I appreciate it. You can it's free. Like, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Substack. I would deeply appreciate that. And Sean's got a link for the store if you want to get a map or shirt or just throw some support our way. You can go buy something from the store.
Yep, link is in the live chat right now, folks. I would highly recommend stuff from the store. We've got loads of it here. Well said, brother. Thank you for coming on, especially, with your health situation, recovering. You take care, my friend. I'm going to close the show and let you go and get some rest. Cheers, Ryan.
Thank you very much. Always, Sean. You were there from the beginning. So I appreciate it. And maybe I'll get out to your neck of the woods next year, I think.
Our house is your house, brother. Let us know.
Thanks,
Cheers.
man. Next to the Viking graveyard, yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, folks, please support Ryan.
Boom. Yep. ANCreport.com or ryandawson.org. Substack is getting up there. Did a long, lengthy 3-hour Epstein and other pedophiles at large interview with Daryl Cooper, Martyr Made, on Substack. You can check that out. It's been out for a few days. It was supposed to come out earlier. Didn't. It is available in audio. I don't know if the video is up yet, but you can go listen to it. And really, no one needs to see our pretty faces. Just need to hear it. Although the video will be better because I did take some graphs and lists and things and put them on the screen, which is worth seeing, even if you have to pause it. You can get those at antineocon.com. Looking over at Entropy, it's just the same too. We sat at 104. Come on, guys. Send a high five so we can get 109. It's a special number. 109. It's a special number. One dead Lincoln would do it. You can even send it on Rumble, whatever. Because eventually we'll sort things out with Rumble and figure out what's going on over there, what to do. It's yes, I change colors. The sun does that. Sean's an OG, man. He's been having me on since at least 2019. I put up that Epstein map video and those posts on Epstein May of 2019 before he got rearrested. And a lot of people, because I got suspended right after that, they just cribbed my work and they've been grifting ever since. Let's see. Well, I guess we're not going to get the dead Lincoln. Anyway, Daryl Cooper interview is next. I will upload it here eventually when there's a video version of it. We'll be keeping tabs on Maxwell and when and if she speaks to Congress, if she can stay alive that long. We'll see. This is still the biggest case. I mean, the whole donor class is vulnerable. The whole donor class is vulnerable. Bronfman, Wexner, Steinhardt, cabal have been doing this. They've been the Israeli assets to launder money back and forth to agents and spies so they can have plausible deniability, even for the Mossad. They're like, oh, we don't know this. This guy is just some billionaire pervert. As a failed math teacher that gets up right, whatever. There's no one looking at it. Your government's compromised. They're still starving children to death and shooting them in Gaza. They're looking for a new pretext to go to war in Iran. Trump has sent nuclear submarines to threaten Russia. You know, he goes from being Epstein's best friend to hiring his neighbor. And Lutnick is there, like in the shadows. He's replaced Anthony Blinken in his role as, shadowy figure number one, just looking over Trump's shoulder, making sure he makes all those Adelson demands. And that's what you got. I mean, it's been this way since Lincoln. The special interest groups can just buy politicians, compromise them, or shoot them. So that's what you're stuck with. We're all stuck with this. I do not like, I'm going to do a show maybe with Patrick later on this. Everyone's like, ooh, look, France, UK, Canada, they're going to recognize Palestine in September, blah, blah, blah. This is good cop, bad cop. Of course, state recognition is fine, but recognition is kind of abstract. It doesn't really do anything when people are starving to death. But the offer that's being made is statehood that's not really statehood. It is a little bit Ehud Barak, Bill Clinton 2.0. So we will be explaining that later. Any demands real quick before, here comes some dead Lincolns on Rumble. My Rumble funds are frozen. They won't let you cash those out without a PayPal, which I don't have. They used to do straight to bank. They don't anymore. I don't know why. Like 50% of the people on Rumble are also not allowed on PayPal. When they ban you on YouTube, they ban you on PayPal. The reason there's a blanket ban is because these are orders from above. It's not like all these companies independently go like, oh, let's get. No, they are told what to do. And they're threatened with Section 230. So like, well, you're going to lose that unless you get rid of this person, this person, this person. Texas Rebel for 5 says, fuck Israel. Athabasca says, good work. Keep it going. Thanks. And sends a dead Lincoln. And Texas Rebel 88 for a dead Lincoln says, fuck Israel. Again, yeah, double down on that. Happy Hulk Hogan Day, brother. We will see you tomorrow, Korea time.